Do you want to help support Beyond Forbidden and receive extra content that's not seen anywhere else? By becoming a patron, a few things you will receive are the full-length 90-minute or 120-minute podcast episode. Members will also receive a private link of the video podcast and will only be exclusive to Patreon members. In-person, face-to-face interviews with some of the most well-known, respected researchers. Behind-the-scenes footage of interviews not seen anywhere else. And that's just a few perks. So what do you have to lose? Cut out one brain-rotting, overly processed Happy Meal a month that doesn't do anything beneficial for your mind, body, and spirit, and become a Patreon for just $5.
Well, I don't know if CERN is working on that, but I'll tell you, there's a lot that CERN is doing that makes me very suspicious. When they first started up, they were giving us the line that, okay, we're just looking for, confirmations of the standard model of quantum mechanics. We're looking for this particle and that particle and so on and so forth. And I thought, no. Because let's go back to a fellow I've mentioned in some of my books, Secrets of the Unified Field and the McCarthy book, believe it or not, a fellow by the name of Gabriel Krohn. He was a Hungarian Jewish electrical engineer in between the wars. He came to this country. He ended up as the head of research at General Electric in Schenectady in New York. And this man was a brilliant, brilliant man. And he wrote a paper in 1934. It was published in the MIT Review of Physics or something, pardon me. And then this paper won him the Montefiore Prize at the University of Liège in Belgium in 1935. And what did he say? Well, he said that all of that tensor calculus, hyperdimensional mathematics, in the general theory of relativity can be used to explain electrical transients and other phenomena that electrical engineers always have to account for in large networked electrical systems, especially rotating electrical systems. Now, what did he just say? Well, he really said, number one, every electrical system, think CERN.
Yeah.
Every electrical system, from your toaster to your microwave to your refrigerator to your oven to CERN, every single electrical system is a hyperdimensional object because the mathematics needed to model it exists in more than 3 dimensions. So by dint of that fact, every electrical system, including our brain, every electrical system is transducing something from higher dimensions, from outside this physical world. That's what he just said. Number two, he said that it exists right here on our laboratory bench, and we can manipulate it.
Yeah.
Okay? So if there's a basis for your speculation about CERN in that respect, that's where I'd say it lies. Now, interestingly enough, CERN, just a couple years ago, finally came out and admitted what I and others always thought was really going on with the thing, is number one, they were looking for proof of these extra dimensions, and they've admitted finally that that's one of the things that they're trying to do. They haven't said exactly how they're doing it or trying to do it. That's I find very interesting. And the other thing that they are admitting to is, this is just this year, as a matter of fact, they're looking into scalars. They're looking into scalar physics. So could that be related to consciousness? Yeah, very, more than just possibly. I'd say very possibly.
Now, with all these things that you just mentioned, with them finding these other dimensions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I'm a believer in the simulation theory, but it makes you wonder, like, how do we come across this? I know that's a crazy theory.
I don't even know what a simulation theory is.
That we live in a simulated
universe. A simulation. Okay,
simulation.
Okay.
And it makes you wonder, how do we explain these other dimensions? Are the actual physical physical dimensions? Or I've heard people say that these other dimensions are just like other, I guess you could say, rooms within the program or whatever, you know. I guess, what do you think about that, Joseph?
Well,
I know it's a far out theory.
No, it isn't. The problem with it is that there are many possible answers to it. But for my intuition about higher dimensions is you're looking at, imagine if you were to model physical reality as a set, a mathematical set comprising certain elements. Well, you would say it consists of XYZ coordinates, it's got a delta t time function in it, and then there's going to be there's going to be the presence of the Greek letter C. And what that represents mathematically is the phase that something is in. Okay? It's like, think of radio waves.
Yeah.
You can have radio waves that are in phase or out of phase. And if they're perfectly out of phase, they'll cancel each other out. But let's assume this entire universe has a certain phase structure to it. That doesn't prohibit all of the same elements being present in another universe, but in a different phase space. So in other words, I've always thought that ideas of multiverse theory and so on and so forth are intimately related to the phenomenon of harmonics and phase. Okay, so that if you're looking for extra dimensions, what you're possibly really looking at is the phenomenon of phase. So I have no difficulty on that basis, assuming that that's true. I have no difficulty assuming then, okay, then everything that we are participating in to some extent is a simulation insofar as everything ultimately, particularly in physics, everything ultimately is about information theory.
Mm-hmm.
So are we living in a program that's working itself out in a certain way? Yeah. But the problem is...
because everything is mathematics in a way.
Everything is mathematics in a way. The problem there is each of us is our own program. You know, we're all making our own decisions. Mm-hmm. So the real question then becomes, you know, let's go back to quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics begins really with the uncertainty principle of Heisenberg. And what does that say? Well, it says something very simple, but when you stop and think about how that simple thing that it says, what the implications of it are, then it gets pretty hairy. Because what Heisenberg said is you cannot measure the position and momentum of an electron at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Shiloh, it's okay. It's okay.
I give her some attention.
Yeah, she's an attention hog. What you've said when you say that you cannot measure position and momentum at the same time, is what you've really said is before you take any measurement in any experiment, you are already determining the outcome of the experiment, mm-hmm. depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, thus far, quantum mechanics has gotten around the philosophical problem by saying, well, that's only at the micro level. That's only at the quantum mechanical level. But you're now getting to the point in physics where they're wondering whether or not there is an effect, an observer effect, on the macroverse, on the world at large. Well, how would you go about trying to figure out if there was? Well, one way you would do it is you'd start monkeying with group observers and seeing if that created any sort of massive effect in the world at large. And I think they've been doing that, as a matter of fact. That's what I think Mandela effect is.
Well said, Joseph. Well said. You wrote an article titled will the movie Splice become a reality in Japan? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Why are scientists conducting? Because I've seen that movie, Splice.
Mm-hmm.
Why are scientists conducting in these Frankensteinian type genetic tampering? Could one possible variable at play be that they are working on creating a more perfect human being
That's
that
precisely it.
could possibly be better to withstand the emergence of humans and artificial intelligence?